The Widow's Curse by Rosie World, CRN genre. The night glittered with wealth. In the heart of Lagos, Chief Durojaye's mansion came alive with music, laughter, and celebration. The air was heavy with perfume and power, as socialites, business partners, and political dignitaries gathered to honor a man they feared, envied, and admired. It was his 60th birthday, a grand milestone, and the entire city seemed to bow at his feet. Omatara stood by his side, dressed in royal blue lace, her beauty subtle but commanding. The smile on her face was as elegant as the gold earrings she wore, but behind her eyes was a quiet storm. The guests saw a woman blessed with luxury and love, but she knew a different truth. One only silence could speak. As Chief Durojaye raised a glass to toast his wife, there was thunder in his voice and pride in his stance. To the woman who gave me peace, to the mother of my only child. This empire is as much hers as it is mine. Cheers erupted. Cameras flashed. The band struck a joyful note. But in the middle of the celebration, something shifted. Chief Durojaye's hand trembled. His smile froze. His eyes darted to Omatara with a strange look. Was it fear? A silent plea? Then, like a fallen tree, he crashed to the floor. The music stopped. Screams pierced the air. Omatara dropped beside him, shaking him, begging him to wake up. Guests rushed forward, some fumbling with phones, others standing frozen in disbelief. But Durojaye's body lay cold and still. Within minutes, the room turned from a party to a tomb. 3 days later, the once happy compound was draped in black. Mourners came in numbers, but the whispers came louder. Everyone had the same question on their lips. How does a healthy man collapse so suddenly? Omatara sat quietly at the edge of the room, her young son Tenny by her side. She was dressed in black, but her grief didn't need fabric. It poured from her eyes like a river. Then came the voice that cut through the silence like a knife. "You killed my son." All heads turned. It was Mama Durojaye, old, fierce, and burning with rage. She stood tall in her mourning attire, eyes locked on Omatara with venom. "You fed him, you slept beside him, and now he's dead. Omatara, this isn't mourning, it's murder." Gasps filled the room. Omatara couldn't speak. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. Her son gripped her hand, trembling. But the worst was still to come. Adatun, Durojaye's younger sister, stepped forward, eyes sharp as knives. "If we search this house, who knows what we'll find? Maybe poison, maybe secrets. What did you give him, Omatara? What did you do?" Omatara stood, her voice shaky but firm. "I gave him love. I gave him everything." Mama Durojaye laughed bitterly. "Love doesn't kill a man in his sleep. Witchcraft does." From that moment, Omatara knew she was no longer a wife. She had become a suspect, a target. And something deeper was rising beneath the grief, a darkness she couldn't yet name. But that night, as rain fell on the rooftop and thunder growled in the distance, her son Tenny woke up screaming. His eyes were wide with terror. He clutched her arm, crying, "She's crying, Mama. She's crying blood. Don't let them take the baby." There was no one else in the room, just a frightened child, and a woman who had no idea that the storm was only just beginning. Content continues, in the same detailed style, through to the final conclusion. The morning after Tenny's nightmare, Omatara sat on the edge of the bed, unable to move. The weight of her husband's death, the accusations, and her son's cries clung to her like a wet cloth. She had been through storms in her life, but this one felt spiritual. Something unseen was pressing against her soul. She left the room only when Tenny begged for water. His hands were cold as he held hers. His eyes, usually full of childish innocence, were heavy and distant, as if he had seen things too terrible to describe. That same day, a doctor arrived at the compound. Mama Durojaye had requested a private autopsy. When Omatara stepped outside and saw the doctor with police officers, Her knees nearly gave out. The family was trying to build a case against her. "You won't take my son from me," she whispered to herself. Later that night, while packing her things to leave, she found an envelope hidden inside one of Durojaye's books. Her hands trembled as she opened it. Inside was a letter with only 3 lines. "If anything happens to me, go to Pastor Elijah. He knows what I feared most. Protect Tenny. He is the bridge." There was no signature, but the handwriting was Durojaye's. Omotara wasted no time. She packed her bags, took Tenny, and left the compound. She didn't even say goodbye. The rain began again as they slipped away into the night, unnoticed. The next morning, she arrived at a small church on the edge of the city. It was quiet, hidden, and surrounded by tall palms. Inside, Pastor Elijah waited as though he had seen her in a dream. "You are not late," he said, "but you are not early either. The spirits have been waiting." Omotara broke down. She poured everything out: Durojaye's sudden death, the accusations, Tenny's nightmares, the letter. Pastor Elijah listened in silence, his eyes closed, lips moving in prayer. When she finished, he opened his eyes and said calmly, "This is not just about your husband. It's about his ancestors, and yours. The curse is older than your marriage." He touched Tenny's forehead and frowned. "This child sees visions. His soul is awake." Tenny stirred in his mother's arms and whispered, "The crying woman is back." Pastor Elijah turned to Omotara. "You must go back, to the village. The answer lies where the curse began." That night, Omotara made the journey to Ondo State. She hadn't been to Durojaye's hometown since their traditional wedding. Now, the streets looked unfamiliar, cold, and threatening. An old woman, who had once worked as a cook in the family compound, let her stay in a small room behind the house. From her, Omotara learned more than she expected. "Your husband's grandfather was a great man," the old woman said, "but he was greedy. He went to a shrine. He made a blood pact, wealth in exchange for every firstborn daughter." Omotara felt the ground shift beneath her feet. She remembered the baby girl she had lost years ago. The stillbirth the doctors never understood. She had mourned, but she had never asked questions. Now she knew. Her baby had been claimed. The next day, she visited the old family shrine deep in the forest. The journey was quiet, but the air grew heavy the closer they got. When they reached the clearing, Tenny suddenly froze and pointed. "She's here, the woman in my dreams."